Welcome to People in Profit and our special show about data privacy. I'm Kate Moody. Coming up, with the EU set to bring in a raft of new data regulations, we look at the scandals and standoffs that brought the tech world to loggerheads with the European Union. Will the new rules be a tipping point for the industry? What will change for consumers, and how are firms getting ready? We put the questions to an expert. And keeping your data close to your chest, or in this case, even under it, why embedded microchips could be the future of privacy. It's been billed as the most sweeping overhaul of data privacy laws since the birth of the internet. On May 25th, a 2-year transition period will end, and the European Union will bring into force a raft of new rules. The General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR, aims to give consumers more control over their personal information via social media, banks, game producers, or any company that deals with Europeans' data. It's far from the first time that tech giants have clashed with Brussels, which is also trying to crack down on digital tax arrangements. But personal data is an increasingly valuable commodity, one which the EU's competition chief has acknowledged offers wonderful opportunities, but a dark side as well. So, just what brought the EU to this point? Yuka Royer has been finding out. Yuka?
Well, Kate, personal data is indeed one of the world's most valuable resources today. Here in Europe, online platforms are already the main source of advertising income for companies, generating around 37 billion euros in 2016. The market practically doubled in 5 years. Facebook alone has 2.2 billion active monthly users around the world. But the recent Cambridge Analytica scandal was a wake-up call. Facebook says up to 87 million users may have had their personal information harvested. Most of them were in the United States, but around 2.7 million people were affected here in Europe. Cambridge Analytica allegedly took data from volunteers, but also from other accounts linked to them without their consent to develop targeted ads during the 2016 US presidential election. The European Parliament wants to question CEO Mark Zuckerberg about what happened. But Facebook is not the only one under fire. Last year, the European Union hit Google with a record €2.4 billion fine for breaking antitrust law. It found the tech giant manipulated data, so when users did a price search, its own shopping site would come out on top. Google was ordered to change its search algorithm to give equal treatment to rival services. EU regulators are also investigating Apple's planned acquisition of Shazam, an app that can identify a song after listening for a few seconds. They're concerned because Shazam has important data about Apple's rivals, such as Spotify. If Apple can access data on other streaming services, then it would create unfair competition. Kate.
Yuka Royer, thanks so much for that look at some of the issues that the EU has been grappling with. But just what stands to change on May the 25th? Luke Schrago has been looking at the impact on individuals and the companies that use their data.
Look familiar? If you have a smartphone, chances are you'll have seen alerts like this on opening up most of your applications in recent weeks. It's all part of the General Data Protection Regulation, a European Union initiative designed to protect users in a world where more of their data is online than ever before.
We really are living in a kind of jungle where we are losing ourselves.
For users, the GDPR has 5 areas of interest. They can know how their data is being used, how long it'll be kept, and if it'll be used outside the EU. They can also transfer their data from one service to another or receive it themselves. Moreover, they have the right not to appear in searches, though that's balanced against the public's right to know. Anywhere algorithms play a role in decision-making, those affected can challenge and request human intervention, and all users will be able to contest any violation of rights at their National Information Rights Agency. While there will be a central European body to act as a forum and issue binding rulings, the front lines are at the national level, and any firm anywhere collecting data from Europeans is subject to the rules.
By negotiating the possibilities of data transfers outside Europe, we are in fact pushing other countries to increase the standards. We are doing it in the United States. Now I am negotiating with Japan, Korea. We will start talks with India and Brazil.
With the regulation meaning users explicitly having to grant permission for their data to be used, companies run a major risk of penalties if they fail to comply, up to €20 million, or 4% of their global annual turnover in fines.
Now, to get a better picture of what's going on, we're joined by Etienne Drouard, privacy and tech specialist who used to work for France's Data Privacy Authority, now a partner at K&L Gates law firm. Thank you so much for being with us. Is the GDPR really a game changer when it comes to data privacy?
It is a game changer, but the first changing is between corporate entities. They have to negotiate agreements, decide who will own the data, who is the service provider, who is the data controller. So it's a matter of liability, negotiation. It takes time, and this is a way of a new way to compete on data ownership. So it's not only about privacy, but it's also on competition.
Do you think that European authorities have targeted the right areas, the right issues, the right changes?
They did not create a new world. We had those rules 40 years ago, 20 years ago, a lack of harmonization. So today we have new procedures, new sanctions in order to impose companies to act for privacy and to regulators to agree together to have a single voice in Europe.
Now, users of social networks and really any tech companies are being told that they have to review and accept these new conditions or effectively have their accounts shut down. Do you think that these constant reminders on apps and emails are really enough? Are they getting through to members of the public?
So it's a way to inform you of your situation and the use of your data. It's not a new way to consent to something because you have no choice. If you don't accept the new terms and conditions, it's a take it or leave it situation. So it's a good way for companies to improve and update their policies, but not in itself a new right for users.
Tech giants like Google and Facebook are spending millions of dollars to make sure that they comply with these regulations when they come into force. Smaller firms are also being impacted. How are they going to cope?
The proportion of the cost is just very difficult to stand for them. A small-sized company having, I would say, between 50 to 200 employees, having even a tech activity on data will need between 50 to 100K to prepare just for GDPR, take a picture of its data processing activity and inventory its activities.
And some businesses, we've heard of ad tech companies, an online gaming firm, they're actually pulling the plug on their European operations altogether rather than have to bring their business model into compliance.
Yes, but they make a mistake. They may not be established within the EU. They will still be subject to EU regulations if their users are EU residents. So it's not the good way to manage this situation.
So leaving Europe doesn't necessarily exempt them from these new rules. Do you think that this really does give EU regulation an unprecedented global reach? Yes,
maybe for the first time, those principles are made to be exported. With the high sanction at stakes, you could be on the mood and still be subject to GDPR if you process EU residents' data.
Does GDPR threaten the very business model upon which the tech industry has built itself?
Difficult answer. Yes. Yes, because you have to justify, get an approval on any profiling, artificial intelligence activity, algorithms, automated decision-making. You need to assess your impact on privacy to have it justified, proportionate, and regulators may say, no, it's not the right way to do it. So once you are subject to this regulation, it's not only a matter of complying, but also to compete with some other companies outside of the GDPR scope.
Do you think most companies will, in fact, bring their business model into compliance, or will we see a lot of the fines that have been threatened?
This year will be the first year of application. Regulators will have to learn. They have huge powers, and they may not be mature enough on the procedures, litigation against company. So they will maybe target the big market players first to give some examples of their power. And we'll see during the 2 to 3 next years how much it can be balanced and more secure as an environment.
We're also seeing a lot more data breaches in companies and businesses around the world. These regulations will require companies to report those breaches faster. Will they do anything to reduce the number of data breaches that we're seeing?
Maybe not reduce, but this kind of transparency is a way to educate everybody, because you need to be aware that your bank, your government is not secure, and you have to be a player in this security policy.
Beyond regulations, what do you think individuals should be doing to protect their privacy?
Understand and decide. Read and decide. So they should use the settings not only for the benefit of the service they would like to use, but also for the future. For example, when you share data, can you withdraw your choice? Can you have your data deleted? So if you don't exercise your rights, your privacy won't be protected. It's not only a matter of law, but it's a self-action system.
All right, Etienne Drouard, thank you so much for that insight. Next, data breaches, unwanted leaks, and giving up control. For some people, it's all just gone too far. Some are pinning their hopes on tiny microchips embedded under their skin and offering a replacement for ID badges or even train tickets. The technology has become a hit in Sweden, as Simon Harding reports.
Minuscule, but capable of holding the keys to your everyday life. Microchips carrying personal data becoming the latest fashion in Sweden, with 3,000 people already buying into the technology. Access to work, a keycard for your gym, or even buying train tickets, the tech lovers all say it makes life easier.
It's a unique identifier which you always carry with you. There's no risk that you lose it. It makes everything easier to identify and helps authenticate a person. So yes, it's very interesting.
Sweden has long been a country open to sharing personal data as a sign of transparency. But analysts have questioned whether the microchips could become vulnerable to attack or tracking, worries which have been brushed aside by their users.
I'm not scared right now because I don't think our current technology is good enough to hack a chip. I'm only using it for work and the gym right now. But I may think about this again in the future. I could always take it out.
Despite picking up momentum, microchips are not revolutionary to Sweden. They have already been tested in Belgium, China and the US, and could soon become a plausible alternative to handbags and wallets.
That's all for this week. If you have any thoughts or questions about the stories we've been covering, you can get in touch on Facebook at France 24 Business, or you can tweet me at Kate A. Moody. Until next time, thanks for watching.
Reporters Plus, presented by Mark Owen.
Palestine, Israel, conflict, settlements, words and names which are constantly in the news since 1948. What does life look like under occupation for Palestinians today? Our reporters James Andre and Liana Saleh went to meet those who live in Area C in the West Bank, where Israel maintains full administrative and military control.
Reporters Plus on France 24 and France24.com.